Hello everyone, Dr. Sunil Dhand. Welcome to another video. We of course had last week the very sad news of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She passed away at the age of 96. Known, respected, admired all over the world. For many, if not most people in the United Kingdom. We can't imagine the country without the Queen as head of state. That's all we've ever known. What a life of service and duty. We're unlikely to see anybody like Queen Elizabeth II ever again. And I actually grew up not too far away from Windsor Castle. And growing up, we would regularly catch glimpses of members of the royal family. We would see their motorcade go past. And I want to share a story with you from high school. I had a friend who was once out cycling. He was on a bicycle. I think he was with his dad. And the weather was really bad. It was raining. And he remembers this series of cars going past. It looked like a motorcade. And he actually fell off his bike. And as he was getting up, he was a little bit dazed. And he remembers the motorcade pulling over. And suddenly this butler-like figure got out of one of the cars and said, "Her Majesty would like to know if the young man requires any assistance." And he was fine. And he said, "No, I'm okay. That's fine. Thank you for asking." And the butler got back in the car and the motorcade drove off. And then him and his dad looked at each other and said, "Oh my goodness, what just happened?" I wanted to share with you that story of Queen Elizabeth II showing concern for a young man who had fallen off his bike. Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away at the age of 96, lived a long and healthy life up until relatively recently. She was extremely healthy for a lady in her 90s. And I don't doubt that it's because she practiced a lot of very good lifestyle habits. And as a doctor whose primary area of interest is lifestyle medicine and metabolic health, this, of course, interests me. And I want to share with you some of her health habits in this video. Firstly, I know a lot of people will say, well, she was very rich, she was catered to, and she had great genetics. Now, research has shown that generally anybody's health at any one point in their life is only about 20 to 30% your genetics. Your lifestyle habits make up the vast majority of the contributing factors to your level of health at any one point in time, which is a great thing. And remember, people who are very rich and catered to can easily tip the other way into gluttony. The Queen did not do that. She practiced great lifestyle habits for her whole life. And some of these include the following. First and foremost, obviously, is what she ate. She was very big on eating natural, fresh, whole foods. She didn't eat the processed and packaged foods, which have now swept over large swathes of the Western world. She ate real foods for most of her life. When you look at what her menus were, what her favorite foods were, they were very good foods. Now, I can talk for a long time on how processed and packaged foods have led to the health disasters that we've seen unfold across the Western world. We've got so many things wrong in our field of nutrition. Many doctors don't even understand this, but a calorie is not really a calorie. It's what's done to the food that counts. Food which is highly processed, which is made in factories by food conglomerates with things added to them. If you look at the labels on many foods, they have an unbelievable amount of ingredients. Terrible artificial things which are added to our foods are responsible for many of the health consequences that we see today, including obesity and diseases like type 2 diabetes. But coming back to the main point here, the Queen ate real foods and she ate in moderation. She didn't indulge herself in foods. As for exactly what was on the Queen's menu, a lot has been written about this over the years. As you might expect, it was always those high quality, fresh, minimally processed foods. But remember, this doesn't mean that for everyone else, real food always has to be prohibitively expensive. Let's also add that the Queen wasn't ridiculously strict. She would enjoy her treats and desserts, but again, sensible amounts. Hardly a royal feast for every meal. And sticking with what she ate and drank, she was also a regular tea drinker. Research shows that tea drinking is very good for one's health. I myself am a huge fan of drinking tea. She did drink alcohol, but in moderation. She never smoked throughout her whole life. In fact, rumor has it that she persuaded many members of her family to stop smoking, including her husband. She treasured her sleep. She was very big, apparently, on having at least 8 hours of sleep every night. How many of us strive for that? Most people out there get way less than the recommended amount of sleep every night. And it's very important, if we're going to function at a full capacity and be as healthy as possible, to try to get a good night's sleep. Then let's look at her level of activity. She was huge on being as active as possible. She loved walking. She loved being outdoors, getting a good amount of vitamin D. Her favorite sport was horse riding, or horseback riding, as you say in the United States. A great cardiovascular exercise. She, of course, would be very social. She would meet a lot of people as part of her everyday duties. She owned dogs throughout her whole life, corgis. She was a corgi lover, and she had corgis throughout her life. And we know that as well as making us more physically active, pets, especially dogs, are great for our emotional and mental well-being. She had her faculties about her for her whole life. How many people in their 90s are as sharp as she is? Research shows that if you keep your mind as active as possible, you can help ward off dementia. And she was certainly somebody that had piles of paperwork to do every day. She liked to read, she liked to do quizzes, and she stayed on top of current affairs. She knew exactly what was going on in the world. Now, of course, there are never any guarantees with health. All we can do is try to practice as many good health habits as possible to increase our chances of a long, healthy life. And the Queen certainly practiced a lot of these healthy lifestyle habits. Finally, I can't finish without adding what a great role model she was emotionally, at least in her public face. She was a true Stoic. Now, those of you who watch my videos know that I'm a huge fan of stoicism. Now, I don't think that the Queen was a Stoic in the sense that she was a great reader of the works of Marcus Aurelius or the other original Greco-Roman Stoics, but she displayed a lot of the character traits of a Stoic. Somebody who remains calm at all times, certainly publicly. She was not prone to wild emotional swings. And how hard is it to remain classy in the face of all of the madness going on in the world? And she was somebody who always remained classy. So if we're looking for a great role model out there when it comes to health and well-being and healthy lifestyle habits, look no further than Queen Elizabeth II. May she rest in peace.